So one of the interesting topics that came to my mind was user experience. So how to create that better experience for the client, the customer, the person that's in front of you. And that astonished me or kind of took on like a specific spark of, oh, that's interesting, and how to develop that and how to create better impact and how to create better results. So, if we're defining what a habit is, it's something that we start to do on a regular basis that it becomes something subconsciously done, right? To a point where, to an extent that we don't think about it anymore, it's something that automatically our body and mind and emotion is already set to do. But in order to create the full-on experience of culture change or making sure the whole organization is on the same level, wavelength, psychological safety, change, all of this needs to happen on a very communicative and collective wisdom and mindset. And I think this is where the concept of you're not alone comes. So just to give some context, the You're Not Alone community is a community I created in 2019, which supported women by women. So the whole concept of it is to really tap into the different potentials of women. I think this context comes, the bigger your position and responsibility is, the more this kind of balance comes into place where, like, do I sacrifice my growth to be there for the people, to lead them, to manage them? Do I even have time to develop or take this time for myself?
Hey there, and welcome back to EI Cafe with Azim. Before we dive into today's conversation, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Yes, you, for showing up, whether this is your first episode or you have been with me since the early days. I genuinely appreciate your time, your curiosity, and your willingness to grow. Now, here is something interesting I came across. Did you know that nearly 50% of podcast listeners tune in regularly but haven't actually hit the subscribe button? Which means there are good chances you might be loving the content but still missing out on the episode that could really spark a shift in your thinking, your leadership, or even your personal growth. So, if anything you have heard on this show has ever made you pause, reflect, or just feel, go ahead and subscribe on your favorite platform and drop a quick review. It truly helps others to discover the show, and maybe share an episode with someone who could use a dose of inspiration today. I'm committed to making each episode more meaningful, more relevant, and truly worth your time. My promise to you, I'll keep showing up with honest conversation, inspiring voices, and ideas that matters to help you grow from inside out. All right, let's get into today's conversation. Greetings to you from Colombo, Sri Lanka. This is EI Cafe with Azim Season 12. And I'm your host, Azim Sahir, a human capital specialist, a Lego series facilitator, ICF certified coach, an emotional culture and emotional tech practitioner. Here we are for another interesting topic. I'm one of the lead facilitators at Luminal Learning Solution. This weekly show helps you to explore the impact of emotional intelligence on our lives through engaging conversation with industry leaders, innovators, executive coaches, and thought leaders. We aim to inspire you and empower you. In this episode, we dive into inner journey of our growth, why you are the most valuable project you need to focus on, which is from self-leadership to habit design to explore what means to evolve with purpose. Join in with me and Asma Al-Kuwari as we unpack the art of mindset shift, build live communities, and how UX, user experience thinking, meets coaching to create powerful personal development. Of course, let me introduce my guest for today. Asma is a multi award winning coach, TEDx speaker, and author from Qatar, known for empowering women to lead with authenticity and purpose. With corporate background spanning 12 years and over 5 years in coaching industry, she is uniquely blend leadership, UX thinking, and she is the founder of You Are Not Alone, and first Qatari woman and the youngest president of ICF Qatar chapter. Her mission is to creating transformative space where growth begins from within. Her purpose is to empower female executives to truly look their potential and become the best version of themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, today's topic is growing you, the most important project. So let me welcome my guest today, Asma Al-Kuwari. Asma, welcome to the cafe.
Thank you, Azim. I love it. Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be here.
First and foremost, thank you very much and much humble accepting my request and joining this cafe to share your inspiration and wisdom to the listeners and the viewers who will watch this particular podcast. Asma, I gave a little bit of a context into the topic. Right, most of our people always take a lot of different projects in our life, right? Ambitions,
Mhm.
growth, etc., etc. But I'm really curious why people don't take as their own self as a project to grow, right? That was one my thought process for the whole topic. But let me give this context. Let's start with this your own word of doing this. You speak about UX, right? Now, and you are a coach. My question for
Yes.
you, how can UX inspired coaching strategies support people's development in organization? What's your thought? Let's start from there.
Of course. So, just to give some context on how I was able to merge both. So I had my bachelor's degree in business. So I started in telecommunication and product development and marketing and all of that. And one of the really interesting topics that came to my mind, this was all before coaching, right? So one of the interesting topics that came to my mind was user experience. So how to create that better experience for the client, the customer, the person that's in front of you. And that astonished me or kind of took on like a specific spark of, oh, that's interesting, and how to develop that and how to create better impact and how to create better results. And I think throughout time, once I started discovering coaching, I discovered that it's all about the human potential, how to unlock it, how to work on person and a better version of yourself. There was so much intertwined concepts of what user experience was and what coaching brought. The main elements between both is the human, right? So here we're working with the human mindset, the human and reactions, actions, emotions, thoughts. User experience is all about that. It's all about the emotions behind it. It's all about where they would get their journey, where they would start from point A to point B. And it was very, very much intertwined. I'm like, how can I bring these together, especially for organizations, to create better results, which is why user experience exists and which is why coaching exists. So I kind of brought both my experiences together, even though someone from outside would say this is totally different than this. But there is so much connection and correlation between these two that really benefit the human aspect of what it is to build whatever it may be. So this is how they both came together, and this is how I felt like this could be kind of a niche that I really can tap into.
Absolutely. I think it's a fantastic way to look at as human potential, right? Coaching is about unleashing the potential and it's about user experience, how that's human being as using. I love the word use emotions. Now, I'm just trying to pinpoint one particular aspect of the conversation you were just sharing, that the thought process, the mindset. Now, how
Yes.
important to focus on the mindset per se? Mindset is a very technical aspect, but how do
Yeah.
you shift to lead this breakthrough moment in the personal growth? How can we shift this mindset? What's your thought?
So my thought is I've always considered our mindset the eighth miracle of life. So we have the seven miracles of life. I've always created the mindset as the eighth one because once we tap into how much we can change within our behaviors, our thoughts, our emotions, and our take on life, I found it so astonishing of what you can truly unlock. I heard the statistic of we typically use about 10% of our brain, which is astonishing. I'm like, "What are we doing with the 8% of the rest of the what are we doing with it?" And you'll find geniuses and creative and innovative people just using within that percentage. So if you can just imagine how we can create so much momentum and expand within our mindset, what we can do, what we can tap into in terms of potential, in terms of growth, in terms of awareness, which is the whole idea of what this mindset is about. There's so much that you can do, and it's for me, with my clients, I always work on how to tap into your mindset. It's all about what goes within what you feed your brain in terms of thoughts, in terms of actions, in terms of reactions. we're all responsible for this. We're responsible for what we get, what we process in our minds, what we give space to in terms of the emotions, what we kind of let go and eliminate. So, understanding that you have the control of all of this gives you so much power of what you can start changing or creating or eliminating, especially for people who think, I don't have this power or I don't have this control. What if you do? Change that narrative that's you're feeding within your mind. Of course, it's not a one-time thing that is gonna happen overnight. It's a matter of building that muscle of your that you are in control of your mindset, that you are in control of doing more and being more and expanding and holding up the space that you are to be able to get to where you wanna be.
And I think you're spot on. The mindset is the most important aspect to it. At the same time, and you mentioned about habits. Now, habits, it's a very much, controversial, it has a lot of paradox into it. Some people say you need to create more habits to get that personal growth piece in. Some people say, habits is so what kills you. But let's look at what what sort of a habit we need to cultivate to focus on the personal goal. For example, waking up in the early in the morning,
Yeah.
right? People say it's an important habit people to have because morning energy is so vital. But how does it resonate to you, Asma? What sort of a habit do you think it'll enable us to work on the productivity, work on the efficiency, what on the effectiveness? Because we are talking about growth, right? You can't be the same person who was yesterday or last month or last year. If you want to grow, there'll be change to happen. What's your take on this particular whole piece of question? How habit helps people to balance their purpose and the productivity across their journey? What's your thought?
So, if we're defining what a habit is, it's something that we start to do on a regular basis that it becomes something subconsciously done, right? To a point where, to an extent that we don't think about it anymore, it's something that automatically our body and mind and emotion is already set to do. And habits help create who we are, right? So, if we find ourselves that we are in a loophole or a pattern of habits that's holding us back, that's not letting us live in our potential, that's, making us, live in fear, or that's making us stay in our comfort zones. That's a habit that we need to create awareness about to be able to let go, and then build this new habit of how can I tap into and become, within the new habits or the new version of who I wanna be. And the most important thing that we need to build through this change is these habits, right? You don't want to be in a constant struggle of always wanting to be in the forefront or the present or needing to build a new thing every single time. You want to create these things that you want in life to be kind of subconscious, accessible, and available for you, right? If we're talking about the 5 a.m. Waking up, try to understand what if there is something that's holding you from such a habit, understand what's holding you back from adding this habit as part of your day-to-day life. I love the book, Atomic Habits. It's such a simple written read book, but it's clear. And the purpose of it is saying that you don't need to come all together to build the new habits that you want. It's always about that 1% that you add on your day-to-day life. So that could be something as small as if you're not, for example, setting the alarm, it's that setting the alarm. It could be as small as setting the intention on the first once you wake up to not do something.
Yes.
It's building on that momentum
Yeah.
that will automatically
Yes.
get you to the state of it becoming the subconscious habit rather than a habit that you're still building on. And I
Yeah.
think that that
Yeah.
concept is beautiful because
Yeah.
it always goes to that 1% idea of change doesn't have to be drastic in our lives. It can start by one small thing. It's about all about those small steps that will get you to the potential or the goal that you want to achieve.
Asma, I get what the whole context. It's important to understand. Here's my question, just as a sub question. I just got into mind. Now you
Yeah.
mentioned that why getting morning early in the morning is so important. The 5 a.m. to the whole theory or the aspect, but people need to understand what's their purpose for them to get up in the early in the morning, right? So one of the challenges I always put in when I go for workshops, right? I ask people, okay, how many of you know your purpose? One or two will go up and ask Asma, when I asked those one or two, they said, happiness, to live life happy. I said, is that your purpose?
Yeah.
And some of them have no clue what the purpose is about. Now, what's your thought on that? How important to have that clarity on the purpose?
Oh, that's crucial. I think especially as coaches, we understand how crucial it may be, right? So each individual in life has a unique compass that will guide them throughout life. And one of the main elements of this compass is knowing your purpose, knowing why you exist, why you're here on this world, why you do what you do. And I love this question. I always make people become aware of why they do what they do. If they're going to take on a step, why do you want to take that step? How is it aligned to who you are, your identity, your values, your purpose? And then that creates an easier way of knowing that if this is aligned with me, I will take this decision. If it's not, I will take this decision. And it's so crucial to clarify that. As you said, a lot of people think it's happiness, my purpose, or it's contentment, or it's something that's very vague. And I love the ikigai concept of how to understand truly your purpose, of aligning all the different aspects of your life. We can say purpose is something that's very broad, but you need to kind of translate it into your day-to-day life of
Yeah.
what you do. It's your work, it's how you hold yourself, it's how you take your decisions, it's how to lead your life. There's so many things that are relying on who you are and why you do every single thing that you do. So it's such a crucial answer to have. Even like once you get there, it makes so much things clear. You understand it's happened to it, even to continue with life. So yes, I totally agree with you.
And building a purpose becomes a project, right? Because it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time to reflect. It takes a lot of people to understand. How does it this whole piece work? Now, I want to divert the conversation into more the corporate context.
Yeah.
I love the whole thought process you bring, uh, Yona, to learn, right? And I went through your website. There are a lot of content around that. And I've been seeing in your LinkedIn, you put a lot of effort to bring that particular. Now, let's take it a workplace context. Now, people have KPIs, but then again, building themselves cannot be done alone. I know it's a project, but personal development cannot become alone. Is there any connection which you're saying you're not alone? Can we draw a connection if it's there, not there? What do you think, Asma? So, what I'm saying is in a workplace context, we talk about
Yeah.
cultures about belongingness, involving love, care. That's emotion which comes in. But then again,
Yeah.
can people really develop themselves alone in the workplace? What's your thought?
So I think um there is a certain extent to a ceiling of how much you can develop alone. So there is this individual work that one will need to do. But in order to create the full on experience of culture change or making sure the whole organization is on the same level, wavelength, psychological safety, change, all of this needs to happen on a very communicative and collective wisdom and mindset. And I think this is where the concept of you're not alone comes. So just to give some context, the You're Not Alone community is a community I created in 2019, which supported women by women. So the whole concept of it is to really tap into the different potentials of women because sometimes they can't feel like they are alone in this journey or they're the only ones that are going through it. So coming together and sharing in a very safe environment in both personal and professional development helps create this momentum and change and impact within the society and the bigger life. And I think if we're going to reflect this on the organizations, it's kind of the same concept. I just had a training last week, and the most, if you, as in you won't believe this, I wasn't talking about my community much within this training, but the most common word that was used is that sometimes we feel like we're alone. And then once they start sharing this, like now I feel like I'm not alone. I'm like, yes, that's exactly
Yeah.
the whole idea behind such a feeling when we're able to share knowledge, share information, share emotions, share change, share courage, share the willingness to adapt, the willingness to create impact, the willingness to whatever that goal may be. It's about that sharing culture and including everyone to be part of that is how you will get your employees to be on board and to move on with the next step. So it's such a crucial thing. If we're talking, you tapped into like diversity, inclusion, there's so many aspects of what it means to create this culture of a narrative for organizations that it's so crucial for them to really invest in their employees and in their people. This is their main assets. Without them, yes, you can rely on systems, but it's the emotional aspects and the mindset behind them that are going to make these systems and computers and whatever it may be to really work and create that change that they're looking for.
Asma, I was addressing a recent conference, and this the context that I brought is about listening, right? Now, loneliness is the biggest disease in the whole world at the moment, and it's spreading like wildfire. I think the movement like y'all, what you bring in, I think it serves a lot of purpose in terms of a community context, right? I think organization, most of 82 SHRM says, McKinsey says 82% of global workforce feel lonely. Isn't that
Yeah.
scary? Isn't that dangerous, right? So I think such initiative, Asma, you bring, I think it should spread around the world. It's not only to you, to Qatar or the Middle East. I think wonderful job what you do, and I'm really appreciating from my bottom of my heart for that particular whole context. And yes, it is a whole piece of whole e- as a whole, right? As a person, it works. But let me put you could. I know we are coming last couple of minutes, about 10 minutes we have. I want to ask you, what does it look? What does it take a person to grow themselves while leading in a high demand corporate culture? Now, why I'm
Mm.
saying is a corporate high demand. We are talking about VUCA world, we are talking about Barney, we talk about Flux. A lot of new concepts are coming. End of the day, no, let's talk about the whole global economical crisis we everybody goes through in terms of tariffs, Middle East crisis. You like it or not, me and you have been getting impacted with this, and it's become we have to run faster. When run faster means sometimes we need to sacrifice our growth to run fast, or whether we
Mm.
can run faster by developing. So, my question for you is how one can really grow themselves in this highly demanding competitive culture. What's your one or two giveaway you would like to share?
So, given some of the experience that I had, I think this context comes the bigger your position and responsibility is, the more this kind of balance comes into place where, like, do I sacrifice my growth to be there for the people, to lead them, to manage them? Do I even have time to develop or take this time for myself? And I always come back to this concept. If you are not able to understand yourself and lead yourself, it makes it that much harder to conceptualize and do that for others. The more we create this momentum and awareness within ourselves, the easier it makes us available and sane and content to be able to give others um, so it all starts within. I love this concept of the butterfly effect, right? Something that needs to happen starts within you to be able to see the effect around you. Like people feed off energies. They understand if this person is so stressed or is in a lot of negative energy or is always, for example, angry, frustrated, hates life. And people don't want to feed off this energy. People want a leader that's really competent in what they do, very charismatic, very authoritative, is also empathetic. Emotional intelligence is such an important skill to have these days, especially with everything that's going on in this world. A lot of people are already struggling. It could be through their personal lives, it could be through the economic crisis, it could be so many things. They're afraid to lose their job, they're afraid to have a job. AI is coming. There's so much that you need to kind of tackle or kind of balance. And I always tell the leaders, tap into what you have. And the more you're able to be aware and create that space, the more you'll be able to give. We have this notion of don't ever give from a empty cup, right? Always fill your own cup. That's how it is. Like if you find founders, if you're going to talk about, for example, entrepreneurship, founders, startups, there is this notion of the fast pace, but there is this also importance of understanding where I need to feed my energy, where to take that break, where I cannot fall into burnout, where there's so many elements that I need to play with. So start filling yours first before you're able to tap into all of that. And that's where I think they start to kind of see the importance of it. And then they're like, oh, well, yes, because now not only is it affecting my teams and the organization, it's affecting my family, it's affecting my wife, husband, children, my ecosystem, and
Yeah.
you.
It's because it's a ripple effect. It's a ripple effect, right, Asma? It's a ripple effect. You like it or not. I like the whole analogy and the metaphor you bring in terms of fill your cup first before you serve others. I, Here's I look at it, right? Take care of yourself before you take care of someone else.
Mhm.
It's not being you know be very much self-driven. Yes, it's about if I'm fully grown, if I'm in 100% full energy, then I can support Asma and her growth. I think
Yeah.
I always like the metaphor, like when of flying, flying, right? The hostess will say, when in terms of a turbulence, the mask will fall down first, prepare for yourself, then you go to the next because you need to live to help another person. So that's how I look at the whole piece. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing that piece. Right. So as we are coming to the end of our conversation, now you ask me, are you ready for the rapid fire round? It's what I need is a very short answers from end for my questions. Right, and then
Oh,
are you
yes.
ready? Shall we hit? Right. Now, question number one. One mind shift that changed your life forever. What is that?
Hmm. I think looking at every situation as a win-win situation. So you're never losing, you're either winning or you're learning.
Brilliant.
That
A
is
book.
my
Yeah,
concept of life.
fantastic. Thank you. All right. Rapid fire. Question number two. A book, a podcast, or a speaker that deeply inspired your growth journey. Anything out of this? A book, a podcast, or a speaker? Sorry?
Recently, Mel Robbins' book, Let Them. It was an eye-opener for me. There was a concept where I kind of knew, but like a slap in the face was what the book was for me. So it was very interesting.
Brilliant. Thank you. Right. Number three. If you could describe your coaching philosophy in one word, what would it be?
Uh, Gentle courage.
There you go.
That's how I would define it.
Brilliant. Okay, the last one. One habit you swear by to say center in the middle of a chaos. What is that one habit in a crisis situation you always look out to?
Breathing,
Okay,
pointing out what I'm grateful for at that moment.
brilliant.
Kind of like,
All right, so that's the end of our rapid fire round. Thank you, Asma. And Asma, before I let you go, anything you want to share for our audience and viewers in this particular whole self growth journey? What would be a one key takeaway you want to share with us?
well, first of all, thank you, Azim, for inviting me to the podcast. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. I think one thing I would share is a point that we tapped into. There isn't a bigger, more important person in your life than you. So try to find that relationship back to yourself where you are the most authentic, courageous, most positive, engaging, authentic person that you are. And that was actually the reason why I wrote my book called Back to That. And that in Arabic refers to self. So if you're interested, please take a look at my book. It's launching very soon in May. And
I saw it's
please
5/5/2025.
5/5/25. Yes, thank you, Azim. But yes, the moment you start on this journey, the more you're gonna love this journey, the more you're gonna tap into what it means to be you. And I think that's the most beautiful present that you can give yourself.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Asma. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the time what we have. And I would like to, remind ourselves, number one, you are not a side project. You are the main sole project you need to work around. And start building from inside out. That's what Asma has been talking about. Reflect yourself. That the better you become, the better everything around you becomes true. Fill your cup first before you start someone else. And of course, that's a wrap for our discussion. Thank you for joining us on this particular episode. You are not the side project, you are the main project. Season 12, the launch of the season 12. We hope you gain valuable insight and nuggets, practical advices from Asma in this navigating in this transition whole Buka and body world. Remember, start building from inside out. The better you become, the better everything around you. So if you like to get connected with Asma Al-Kuwari and learn from her, and she shares some amazing stuff, you can log on to her www.asmaconsultancy.org, or you can, of course, LinkedIn freely available. Just type in Asma Al-Kuwari, you get her connected. And of course, she's launching a book on 5/5/2025. Follow it. I think it's going to be amazing. All the details will be available on the podcast note. On that note, Asma, thank you very much for spending this valuable time and inspiring our viewers and audience on this particular podcast. And I wish you all the very best. And of course, when you get time permits, please drop into Sri Lanka. I'll be in your assistance.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you, Azim. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of EI Cafe with Azim. If this episode resonates with you, don't miss out these powerful conversations too. Episode number 110, Building Resilience Through Narrative Coaching with Dr. Miri Diosai. Episode number 99, Leading Through the Human Energy Crisis with Dr. Joshua Friedman. Episode number 80, Do Emotions Even Belong in the Workplace with Larissa Garcia. Episode number 42, Mindfulness as a Superpower with Lottie Roberts. Episode number 43, Mental Well-Being and Performance with Radha Ganesh. Every episode is a step deeper into the power of emotional intelligence in leadership, teams, and life. If it sparked a reflection, a clarity, or action, leave a review, share your thoughts, or pass it towards someone who will get the benefit of listening to this. This is EI Cafe with Azim. Checking out for the cafe. My name is Azim Sahib. Until next time, tune into your emotions and turn them into insight. Stay safe. God bless you.